Good morning. Can somebody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I just have them muted because they're very loud right now. I'll unmute them in about a minute.
Thank you.
Don't get me started. No, please. I love it. As you can see. Tell me how you really feel. Oh, man.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I found it and I said I better wear it today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staff was asking. No,
I'm gonna get some coffee.
Okay, Dan, can you get me a cup?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
how do you take it?
Just black.
Black?
Just black. Okay, so join with computer audio.
No, just hit X. Here we go. So just, can we get rid of that?
I don't think so. I have to join. I think I can, but I'll have to lower that.
Do that.
Oh, there, yeah.
And see if you can X out of there. There we go. Continue. No, don't just continue. There, now you don't have audio. Now we're good. Now expand it. There you are.
Okay, so let me just make this smaller. Okay. Now I can see. Yeah, but it's-
I can never get out of tech support. I just,
And did you want a black?
Yes, yes, thank you. Dan.
David, did you want some coffee? Oh, I'm good. Carl?
none for me, it just keeps me awake.
Well, then we feel sorry for you. That's what you're gonna feel all day, Carl.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for those that are joining us here in the chambers, and also thank you for those that are joining us via Facebook Live. Today is September 12th, and it's the MST Board of Directors meeting. And today's, just before we go into the, to begin the meeting to call to order, just reminding anyone joining us today that there's different options to be able to participate in today's meeting. You can join us in person here in the board conference room. Members of the public are required to wear a face covering and adhere to our social distancing protocols. You can also join via Zoom. The meeting ID is located on the agenda, but just in case you don't have it, it's 845-0083-6234. And the passcode is 652252. You can also join via phone call, which is 1-669-900-6833. Okay, so I'll call this meeting to order. It is 10:02. And can we please get a roll call?
Thank you, Chair. City of Carmel by the Sea,
Here.
City of Delray Oaks,
Here.
City of Gonzales,
Here.
City of Greenfield, City of King,
Present.
City of Marina,
Here.
City of Monterey,
Here.
City of Pacific Grove, absent. City of Salinas,
Here,
City of San,
Here,
City of Seaside,
Here.
City of Soledad,
Here,
County of Monterey.
present.
Okay, Chair, you have a quorum.
perfect. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, and this is the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can please stand and place your right hand on your heart to join us. And Director Burnett, would you like to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Can I hand you over this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and then now at this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Sidor to give us a review of the highlights of today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair. I just handed over my agenda to you, but that's okay. We're quick here. I got it.
Got it.
So on your agenda, it's a relatively light agenda on open session, but you'll see on consent among the usual items. We do have a approving a resolution of MST projects for basically allowing the CEO to apply for a variety of grants through state transit assistance, state of good repair funds. So that's a ministerial thing that we have to do in order for us to apply for funds. Then we have a renewal of our contract with Delay and Laredo for a term of 3 years. Moving on, we have our presentations of Employee of the Month for both the months of August and September as we had our summer off. You'll receive an update on our recently launched van pool program that we're working with Enterprise Commute. And then we move to, after a variety of staff reports, we'll move to closed session for updates on our negotiations with the Amalgamated Transit Union. We have some items to discuss with our Monterey Salinas Transit Employees Association, conference with property negotiations, and then also a liability claim, potentially a liability claim to discuss as well in closed session. So a fairly full closed session, but not so much on the other stuff. That concludes my review.
Thank you, Carl, for that review. So at this time, then we'll go into public comments and matters not on the agenda. So at this time, any member of the public may address the Board of Directors on items not appearing on the agenda. Speakers shall have a limit of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. And just as a notice, the board typically doesn't respond immediately to some of the comments. However, we have the option to be able to direct staff if there's matters that need to be addressed. And just as a reminder, if you are on Zoom, make sure that if you're not on Zoom, if you want to make any public comments, you do need to be on Zoom or you do need to call in so that could be part of the record. So are there any public comments at this time?
good morning. I do have a public comment. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay, Rosa, we can hear you. And then just for the, if there's going to be any future public comments, if you can please raise your hand so we can recognize you, please.
And I apologize. I've never participated before, so this is new to me.
Okay, good. Thank you, Rosa. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm a resident of Gonzales, and I'm going to read the following. Right now, what I'm trying to advocate is for a bus stop at the Soledad Hartnell campus. And then in addition to that, I'm trying to advocate for a sheltered bench at the Mayor Park in Gonzales. And this is what I wrote. Currently, there is an MST bus stop at Monterey Street in Soledad However, students or anyone else that wants to get to the Soledad Hartnell campus has to either walk 12 minutes from Monterey Street, which is the current closest MST bus stop to the Soledad Hartnell campus, or call the MST on-call bus, which I hear will be phasing out in the near future. I have used the MST on-call bus when my van broke down, and at the time I had to wait a very long time to access service because it's on a first come, first use service. I understand the city of Soledad and MST are working to identify possible future additional permanent MST bus stops. However, that process is taking a while. Our students urgently need a permanent bus stop with a sheltered bench at the Soledad Hartnell site as a top priority and completed as soon as possible. I was unaware of the need until one of my young adults started attending this semester. The weather this past week has been scorching hot, as we all know. Imagine having to walk 12 minutes to get from Monterey Street MST bus stop to the Soledad Hartnell campus in that weather if a person can't wait for the on-call bus. Plus, let's remember we have winter coming up with possible rain too. As it is, South County, in my point of view, has an underserved population with decreased access to many needed services. I guess what I'm saying is let us decrease obstacles for our students to access education more efficiently. Also, I understand that the sheltered MST bench costs about $13,000, not including labor and materials. Therefore, I would strongly advocate for the city of Soledad, Hartnell College, and MST to share the cost so that an MST bus stop can be added as soon as possible. Also, in addition to that, I'm advocating for the sheltered bench at Mayor Park and Gonzalez. We have many seniors in our subdivision that should be able to sit while waiting for the bus. And that's the reason why I strongly advocate for those two needed, the bus stop at the Soledad Hartnell campus, and also the, in addition to the sheltered bench, and in addition to the sheltered bench at Mayor Park. Thank you for your time, and I would appreciate your assistance.
Also, thank you for those comments. I said we typically don't, so what we'll do is I'll work with Mr. Sidoric. I know that we took down that information, staff took down that information, but just as a matter of clarity, I know that Hartnell College and MST were working together with that shelter, the bus stop. So there was already a cutout that was designed to be able to put that bus stop there. So we'll go back and follow up on where that bus stop. So that was already intended. And as you stated, part of the Better Bus Network system that is going to be affecting South County and really providing, as you mentioned, those services that are needed for our community, that is going to be implemented by the end of this year. That's my understanding. So we'll be able to see those changes as well. But thank you for your comments, they're much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you very much to all of you.
Any other public comments at this time?
I think board member Worthy has turned her mic off, so maybe she has something to say. I don't know.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may. I have been in contact with Mrs. Rodriguez and also with MST and our city as well about working on the shelter in place situation. So I just wanted to let everyone know that that is ongoing, and Rosa does know this as well. So we have been in discussions. So that's all I wanted to let the board know. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Worthy. And just also, just as a comment to the note, I know that MST does have a contract with Hartnell College and students ride for free, correct? But I do understand that currently the bus stop for some of those students that need to take the bus, they have to stop in Monterey and then they have to walk to the facility in Soledad. But just for the public, I know that is something that MST did work with. It's in partnership with Hartnell College as well as CSUMB. Excuse me, to be able to make sure that our students ride for free. Okay, any other comments?
If I could just add really quick, I just want to thank Ms. Worthy and also Mr. Dobbins for working with the community for that potential bus stop at the Mayor Park. I do want to add that I do want to thank her for that.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Okay, any
You're
other
welcome.
comments at this time. I don't see any other hands up. Is that correct? Okay, so seeing no additional public comments at this time on matters not on the agenda, then we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our consent agenda for today. And as Carl noted, there are there's actually 12 items on our consent calendar for today. So do any of the directors wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for for additional discussion or comments? Okay, seeing
Move
none.
consent.
Oh. Director Alejo?
I was just moving consent calendar.
Okay, so before we do that, let me go ahead and just make sure that there's no members of the public that want to pull any items. So any members of the public wish to pull any items from the consent calendar for discussion or comment? I see none here. Okay, I believe I saw a hand up by Mayor Carbone, Director Carbone.
Yes, Chair. I was just going to second that motion,
Okay.
Mr. Alejo's motion.
Okay, perfect. So we have a motion on the floor. Can we take a roll call, please? We have a first and a second. So first by Director Alejo and a second by Director Carbone.
Okay, Director Barron,
Yes.
Director Gagliardi,
Yes.
Director Worthy,
Yes.
Director Labar,
Aye.
Director Burnett,
Yes.
Director Albert,
Yes.
Director Barrera,
Yes.
Director Carbone,
Yes.
Director Pacheco,
Yes.
Director Velasquez,
Yes.
Director Alejo.
Aye.
And then Chair, could you please give me the first motion and second again, please?
Yes, so the first was Director Alejo, and I apologize to Director Burnett, as I know he had seconded the motion, and then Director Carbone did as well. So I will take Director Carbone as I already had stated it, but my apologies, Director Burnett, for that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
So the motion passed. Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Great, thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda. And at this time, we have our recognition and special presentations. So for today, we have our August 2022 Employee of the Month, Rex, and I want to make sure I say this correctly. Sakayana.
That sounds correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coach operator, I'll turn it over to Norm.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Norm Tutubuki, Chief Operating Officer. Thank you for allowing me to present to you the August 2022 Employee of the Month, Rex Sakayanan. Rex began his career as a professional coach operator with MST back in June of 1999. So for more than 20 years, Rex has been demonstrating the skills and the abilities and his professionalism that we all here at MST strive to instill in our employees. Rex has accumulated numerous safety, attendance awards, and other performance-related certificates over the past 20 years. He was previously recognized as the Employee of the Month in April of 2010. Earlier this summer, while operating the Line 23, Rex found, secured, and eventually returned a cell phone to an MST customer with intellectual disabilities. A relative of that customer met Rex while he was on duty and in service and thanked him for his efforts. Additionally, the relative tried to give a cash reward to Rex for his efforts, but Rex appreciated the offer and politely declined, as we expect. The customer and their relative shared their wonderful experience with MST and formally commended Rex. Rex's response and efforts are exemplary, and his response is exactly how we'd like to see situations like this managed and resolved. Rex is a public transit ambassador and example to all MST employees. I'm pleased to recognize Rex as the Employee of the Month for August 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Norman. Do we have Rex with us?
Rex is not with us today.
Okay.
No.
Well, we want to tell him thank you so much, Rex. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your customer service as well. I know phones are really critical to all of us nowadays. So we maintain so much critical information and they become part of our lifeline. So thank you so much for for doing that and being able to provide that customer service and for your leadership and your role model as part of MST. So directors, I'll open it if there's anyone that wants to share a few words for Mr. Rex. Okay.
I don't see anyone.
Seeing none, then we'll move on to our next item. Thank you so much. Please give them a thank you on our behalf. The next item is our September 2022 Employee of the Month. And this is for Michelle DiPretoro.
Yes, that's right. Michelle,
Maintenance Analyst. So I'll turn it over back to you, Norm.
thanks again. It's my pleasure to announce Michelle DiPretoro, our maintenance analyst, has been selected for the Employee of the Month for September 2022. Michelle began her career with MST in November of 1998. So for almost 24 years, she's been working at MST, serving the public and doing her part in order to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, especially in the maintenance department. Since joining MST, she's accumulated 45 awards and accomplishments for safety, for attendance, and for other transit-related accomplishments. Michelle has been deeply involved in MST's Enterprise Asset Management System upgrade. It's been a long project we undertook several years ago. She's led this project and continues to serve as MST's single point of contact, coordinating with MST staff, key external stakeholders, and also with the vendor. Her hard work has resulted in providing MST's facilities department with the software-based solution that will allow them to better manage their work. This major project required Michelle's full focus and her full attention, which she's been doing very, very well. Michelle has worked through many project challenges, but her diligence and her willingness to see this project to completion is an excellent example for all MST employees. I'm pleased to recognize Michelle as the Employee of the Month for September 2022. She is on duty today. She's actually meeting with our vendor, and if you see her around, thank you for a job well done.
Thank you, Norm. So we do thank her. So she's not on, she's obviously on duty and working. Right. So we want to recognize Michelle. Thank you so much for your leadership as well. And thank you for your dedication and service for the past 24 years to MST. I mean, I think this is one of the distinguishing, honors as a director for us here with MST, is that there's so many of our employees that have been here for a long time, which really speaks volumes about their organization. So thank you, Michelle, for maintaining the safety protocols, which are really imperative for this agency, and as well for the software-based solutions that you have brought to the team as well. Obviously, being able to keep up with how we do our work more efficiently, and how this continuous change, especially in technology. So thank you so much. Please give her our thanks on behalf of the directors. Directors, is there anyone that wants to? I do see Marianne Carbone, Director Carbone.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I just want to express my appreciation and thanks to Michelle for her dedication, service, and her ability to multitask with all these different things that she has, being able to multitask and do work in different positions. So just thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Director Carbone. And I don't see any other hands. So thank you so much, Norm. Thank you it's always important to be able to do the recognition to our employees and their hard work and their dedication.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 4-3, and we'll receive a staff report on the activities related to the COVID-19 pandemic, incident response and recovery planning year to date, and provide direction as needed. So I will turn this over to Mr. Sidorik.
Thank you, Chair. And we have our usual presentation for our September 12th, 2022. And next slide. So here we go. So we had our risk lowered locally in the county to medium on September 1st of 2022. And actually just last week, it was lowered to a low transmission. rate. We've been there before. So we've been low before, we've been high before, so we do continue to keep track of that. We did have a surge of cases between while we were since our last meeting in July, over the months of July and August. We are now at 98 positive cases at MST and 22 cases at MV. We have, though, over recent weeks seen a lowering in the number of cases here, just as you've seen around the state, around the county, and around the country. Throughout life to date, we've yet to have any contact made with an messenger or cases that are directly traced back to the MST work environment. We are continuing to strongly encourage mass face coverings within MST facilities, and I've put the word out to the management team that they need to be setting an example for the rest of the employees, and so we are doing that. In July, as I had mentioned, we had 17 cases just in the month of July, which was more than the 5 previous months combined. As far as number of cases, in August we only saw 5, so you can see that dropping off. I don't believe we've had any cases yet that I'm aware of since September started. We have 3 MST employees that have not been vaccinated. We have 1 termination made to date for failure to comply with the mandate. We've passed out nearly 1,000 day passes between the MST fixed route and MST rides. We've been partnering with the folks at VITA that are through the Community Foundation, and we hosted a vaccination clinic at our Salinas Mobility Center. And we also donated, we had a number of test kits that would be nearing expiration within the month, and we were able to receive a new allocation of COVID test kits. So we donated those that were going to be expiring over the next month to VITA. So we're continuing the partnership with them. Next slide. So you can see our ridership is continuing to come back, and I guess misnomer on that title, that's actually going through mid-August 2022 on this particular slide. And you can see during August, we hit the 50,000 passengers per month mark. We are within 75% of where ridership was in the weeks preceding COVID. However, next slide. We're still far below what our average ridership was. We've been looking at the 3 years prior to COVID, 17, 18, 19, and comparing that to our ridership. We're still not even 50% of where we are compared to that 3-year average. Now, we have kicked off some new partnerships with MPC, Hartnell, CSUMB. We've implemented a van pool program that we are subsidizing. You'll get a report on that a little bit later. And we're hoping that with the implementation of the Better Bus Network, that we'll start seeing those ridership numbers close from where we are. This, we are comparing ourselves to a period of time when we had a partnership with the Presidio of Monterey and the Defense Language Institute. That partnership was allowed to expire by the DLI, and the last base commander did not express any interest in renewing that relationship. A new base commander came on board over the summer, and we will be reaching out to see if there is any interest in renewing that partnership with new leadership there. So in the meantime, we'll just be implementing the Better Bus Network and focusing on your board's directions there, and looking at that to increase our ridership with the existing partnerships. Next slide. This may be the last time that we show this particular chart. What it shows us is that we have received, expensed, and been reimbursed for all of our federal funds that we've received over the time. So that's not going to change. So I am going to recommend that we not show you this chart anymore. Because staff did a great job of getting those funds, getting them in, getting them spent, and then getting us reimbursed. So we're all done there. Next slide. Now that we're done receiving all those special federal funds, you can see that we're on we'll say a controlled glide path towards that gold line is the line that is your board's 15% of budget cash reserve standard. We are well above that standard, but as you can see, until we get our ridership restored, we'll want to continue managing those reserves and supporting our operations until such point that we'll just continue. This is one that we're going to continue to report on for your board, because we do want to keep track of this cash flow over the coming years. But we do have several years of cash that will allow us to gradually grow our ridership back and fare revenue back to where it once was. Next slide. So that's where we are. Be happy to take any comments or questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Carl, for that report. And so we do have, I'll take the questions from those that are joining us here, from the directors that are joining us here in the conference room, and then I'll go out to our Zoom. So Director Burnett, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So Carl, I was wondering, you showed the accumulation of the funds from the feds and the disbursement and the reimbursement. Was there an analysis done on the impact of this funding, how well we handled it? Were there any, hiccups or things that might have, we might have utilized the funds differently or better? Any kind of analysis over that period of funding?
I'm going to have to kick this back to Michelle. Did the FTA do any sort of review? I seem to remember something, but I don't recall what it was. I know it wasn't bad. So they said we did a good job. I just don't remember who did the analysis.
Yeah, I can't remember a really complicated analysis. I believe we did get some questions from FTA as part of just a regular audit process that they're doing for all transit operators. I didn't see those questions. Our civil rights officer may have been managing that FTA audit.
Right. So I'm going to say there were no comments of note. There were no issues. I think the federal government's, our issue was we needed to protect jobs with these funds. That was a primary purpose. So we did not lay anybody off. We did not furlough anybody during this time. So we met the intent of what those funds were for by doing that. And then we spent the funds, appropriately on COVID relief types of projects. And that was really through your board adopting a COVID response plan that we laid that out, and really culminated with the development of the Better Bus Network, which is, I think, our penultimate response to COVID, is redesigning our network, which we will be implementing in December. So we met the goals that the government set for us, and we're continuing to enjoy the benefits of that while our community recovers. We have enough reserves to be there and have the resources available in the community when hospitality comes back, when the colleges come back, when the community comes back, and there's more need for our communities, both in South County, Salinas Valley, and on the peninsula. We have the drivers and infrastructure in place, and aren't going to have to try to rebuild. That wasn't everybody's strategy. There were folks who laid people off, and now they're struggling to recover. So we're pretty close to, I think we have a class starting this week, tomorrow. We have a class starting tomorrow of another 5 or 6 coach operators, and that's going to get us to pretty close to budget for our coach operators. We're going to hire one more class after that in February, and we'll be there. So we're not as in bad a shape as many of our peers.
So a follow-up?
Yeah.
So would there be any benefit, I guess, of looking at it from the standpoint, had we not received, had there not been programs, what would our condition have been?
Would have been dire. We were doing that prior to the CARES Act. You may recall a pie chart. Everybody knows I love pie charts because I like pie, but there was this giant gap that we were showing in the pie chart of what we were gonna lose. And it was substantial. It was pretty dire. And fortunately, the CARES Act came when it did, because it really helped us what could have been a disaster. But in the end, our sales tax revenues, though, came in much stronger through, and I think your cities may have seen the same thing. Local sales tax, which we depend a lot on, came in much stronger than we anticipated. And that helped a lot too.
Thank you, Director, for that question, and thank you, Carl. I think, one of the items that you had brought up was just the approval of the response plan that was provided previously, and I just for directors, and we'll discuss whether we bring it back, but just kind of do an overview of what that response, what was approved, and what we did accomplish, what was accomplished. So thank you for noting some of those highlights in terms of not just the reimbursement for some of the COVID expenses, but also some of the efforts in terms of recruitment, right? Some of the other efforts in terms of, the impacts to ridership, obviously, which was massive. And, some of those offset dollars, how that was supporting the continuous and not having to lay off any of the staff, I think is really critical as well. And as we remember, during the pandemic, there was a lot of pivoting. So I think MST did a lot of pivoting with having staff attend, also supporting other types of community needs as well. So that was really critical as well. Okay, directors, any other comments? Okay, so seeing none, then we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is public hearings. We have no public hearings today, but we will move on to our next item, which is action items. And under this portion of it, we'll receive a report on MST Vanpool program launch. And I'll turn this over to Mrs. Christy Sugabo.
Good morning, MST Board, MST staff, and members of the public. I'm Christy Sagabo, Mobility Services Manager. I am presenting on MST's Vanpool program in partnership with Commute Enterprise. The Vanpool program started and was introduced to the public in the beginning of this month. Next slide, please. MST's Vanpool program in partnership with Commute Enterprise is a mobility option as alternate to driving alone. It also helps reduce traffic congestion and greenhouse gas emission. It saves money commuting. It gives commuters back their time when taking turns driving. It is eco-friendly. Commute with Enterprise community eliminates 900 million commuter miles annually. Enterprise commuters takes 40,000 vehicles off the roads, and collectively riders reduce 695 million pounds of CO2 yearly. It is innovative and sustainable shared mobility. Many Vanpool's riders receive federal and local subsidies or subsidies from their employers to help further lower the cost of their commute. In partnership with Commute Enterprise, MST is offering a monthly subsidy, an incentive to help reduce the high cost to commuting. Next slide, please. MST is offering a subsidy of $450 to lessen the financial burden to participants in the program, and also to encourage participation. The subsidy will apply per van group each month. There are existing Commute Enterprise Vanpool within the county. 29 Vanpools have been identified. And with Commute Enterprise, they will be able to transition participants in that existing Vanpools to the MST's Vanpool program. In return, MST will be able to capture ridership data for the National Transit data reporting requirements. As I mentioned, employers can also support their employees by contributing to the van pool cost. It is a pre-tax deduction that reduces the amount of taxes on payroll, and it's an attractive option for their workforce. Next slide, please. The program is customized to participants' needs. Van pool can accommodate 4 or more van poolers. Cost is split amongst participants. Riders paying a set fee per month. The monthly cost depends on the type of vehicle, commute distance, and amenities. Everyone in the group will split the cost of the ride and fuel. The participants are also able to choose qualifying van pool vehicles. There's a wide selection of recent model SUV, crossover, and vans. Accessible vehicles is also available, and participants are able to upgrade with optional features such as onboard Wi-Fi. The vehicle is also available to use for personal travel. It is available after work or weekends outside the regular commute for 200 additional miles a month at the discretion of the van pool group. Commute with Enterprise offer all the support. They have 24-hour roadside assistance, auto liability and uninsured motor insurance, and they take care of the minor and major repairs and comprehensive maintenance. As part of the Enterprise Complete Clean Pledge, Commute with Enterprise provides best practices for cleaning and complete clean starter kits. Next slide, please. To participate, MST will make the connection. So there's 2 ways to enroll in the program. One, by visiting our MST website, mst.org. There is a link to the van pool landing page. The other one is by calling our MST customer service number. Then Commute Enterprise representative will process the enrollment. Next slide, please. To end my presentation, I will quote MST's General Manager, CEO Carl Sadore. Keeping our communities connected by way of directly operated bus service or through partnership and programs like van pools support our vision for healthy community and access to opportunities for everyone by reducing their cost of mobility. Next slide, please. And that ends my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Hi, Ms. Thank you for that presentation, and thank you for the information that was provided too. If we can share those copy of those slides, that would be awesome. I know that there was a lot of information. So let me take it over to see if there's any directors that have any questions, and then I'll make sure that I don't forget to ask the community. I'll take it out to our community members also if there's any questions. So let me start with directors that are via Zoom. If there's any directors that are joining us via Zoom, if there's any questions or comments on the presentation.
Director Worthy had her hand raised.
Director Worthy, go ahead.
Yes, Chair. I think you said it, but I'm not sure I caught it. Did you say you wanted us to all receive a copy of the presentation? Because that would be extremely helpful for sure. So we could share it with everyone.
Yeah, that'll be available. I believe
Okay.
I'll be able to forward that to everyone.
Very good. And thank you. Very informative. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Director Worthy. Any other comments from our directors joining us via Zoom? Okay, seeing none, then I will bring it to our directors that are joining us here in the chambers. Director Burnett?
I'm just wondering what kind of metrics or follow-ups are you gonna, statistics are you gonna gather to determine the effectiveness of the program? It sounds like a great program. Yeah.
It is, yes. So we are working with Commute Enterprise to collect all the necessary data for NTD reporting. And then also we are gathering demographic information as to whether our riders are participants are also veterans, seniors, or persons with disabilities. And then we will do a thorough follow-up for the program. And right now it is currently the The agreement is up to 3 years.
Hmm.
Right, 3 years, yeah.
Thank you, Director Burnett. And do I have a follow-up question just on that note, as Director Burnett had asked? So we have a contract with them for 3 years. So are the vans, do the vans belong to us? Who do the vans belong to? Enterprise?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so depending on the amount of need, then they'll have those vans available?
Yes, so right now it's 4 or more. We'll start the van pool. And they will, it's a 7 to 15 passenger seat vehicles that's available. And Enterprise will work directly with participants to ensure that that 7-seat, if they were to have the 7-seat vehicle, that it will definitely have a 7-seat passenger participation.
Okay, and then it's a $450 you mentioned monthly, and it's shared within the members, and then it's stored. They can use this also for for personal use, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So there's a 200 additional miles per month outside the commute miles that can be used at the discretion of the group. So the group can set up their own some sort of calendar system so that everyone who's participating in that van pool program and wants to use the vehicle, there's that 200 miles that they can use.
That's amazing, but who holds the liability? Would that be
Enterprise.
Enterprise. Mhm.
Okay,
It's a turnkey solution
wow,
that we're funneling people, and then we get to count the ridership.
good. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm just trying to, I mean, it seems, it's great that we have another alternative, obviously, because we know that even when we're going through this Better Bus Network system, that there were still, elements of other individuals that needed the service, and to be able to provide different alternatives, I think it's amazing. So, Director, Albert?
Yeah, and I agree. This is a great program. And I was just talking to Director Barnett about apartment complexes that are happening, either being planned in the downtown area that don't have parking. So it would be great if you could reach out to some of the apartment complexes, the large apartment complexes now, and let them know that this program is available to them, either through the management or whatever, because I've got a feeling that will be well used, especially at those larger apartment complexes and also downtown businesses too. So great, I love it.
Yeah, thank you. So, let me take it back to there is another comment from, Director Labar, and then I will take it out to the public for any comments. So Director Labar, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Chair. My question is what are we doing to engage the local hotels on the peninsula, or at least Monterey County Conventions Visitors Bureau?
So Commute Enterprise has their own outreach group that does the outreach for us. And we are working with the hospitality industry. Right now, what they have is what they use is what's called a heat map system, where they're able to identify companies that would benefit from this program. Right now, they've identified at least 25, and that includes Monterey Bay Aquarium, hospitality in the industry, Soledad State Prison, the Department of Language Institute, Dole Fresh, and so on.
Okay, you don't have to go through the whole list, but that's great to know. So on the heat map, I'm assuming the companies provide like addresses of their employees. It generates the locations, and then they use that to determine ideal companies.
Right now it's a heat map to identify the companies itself, and then the outreach staff is the one that reach out to the company.
Okay, so then I would definitely suggest to the outreach from enterprises, they should engage with the Visitors Bureau, because they're the connection to all the large hotel owners. And a lot of their employees come from South County. So my concern would be that you're not recognizing opportunity without directly talking with those, with the companies or the Visitors Bureau. Because that could be a huge benefit across the board for our residents and those companies. And then the alleviation of traffic, specifically like on 68. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Director Labar. Good points. Thank you for suggesting the MCCVB. I'd suggest the Farm Bureau as well to be able to reach out to them to see if this is a possibility. I know that we keep talking about the large number of cars out in the fields as well, and if this is something that would work, I'm glad that you're already reaching out to Dole. I think just for me really quickly is making sure that we keep updated also on the outreach strategies that Enterprise is utilizing. I know MST has, we have outreach experience as well, and especially if there's an opportunity for the director to suggest some of the potential other outreach organizations, that'd be really important as well. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Sidorik. I know he was going to make some comments.
With regard to our I personally have Chris Summers, the current chair of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and their director, Rob O'Keefe, mentioned this program among some other things, some other partnerships that they'd like to entertain with MST over the coming years. And then I'm a member of the executive committee for the Monterey County Hospitality Association. So I've been reaching out to their new director, Kristen Horton, as well as specifically this idea gained traction when your board adopted the results of the comprehensive operational analysis, and we identified some communities. While some communities were going to receive more service, there were some specific communities that were losing service, like Big Sur, like Carmel Valley is going to have less service. East Garrison communities never had great service, so we identified this might be an alternative for persons living within these communities to have something. And so there is outreach. We have the human resources managers of all of the hospitality associations are getting email updates on this program so they can promote this to their own employees as well. So there is direct information coming from MST to the association, linking them to Commute Enterprise.
Thank you, Carl, for that. And I think it's important, the more we know too. So thank you for sending a copy of that presentation, because I think for us also, when we engage out in public, and we see those opportunities to be able to be around those tables where we can share that information, I think it's important as well. So Director Burnett, you have a follow-up question?
Just a follow-up on that. I'm just wondering, are the vans themselves graphed in any way to show that they're MST vehicles, or are we getting any kind of free advertising?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. There's like a logo on it that says
Yeah.
MST van pool.
Kind of like up on the slide there, MST and Commute Enterprise.
I'm just wondering, would a phone number on there help to,
I don't know if the graphic has the phone number on it or not, but
Yeah, no phone number. From what I know, no phone number so far.
I just have
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
just one last question.
go ahead, Director Albert.
So just let me understand this, because I'm going to go out and talk to people about this. Is it work to home and home to work?
Yes,
Do they drop them off, or do they pick them up at wherever the workplace is, and then they take them home individually, or I'm not quite understand that.
yeah, so the group is set up to either it's the same destination or destination along the ride. And then, anyone in the group can be a designated driver. The vehicle, within the group, they would have to coordinate whether they want the vehicle parked at a centralized location where everyone can meet, or the driver that's assigned for that week it can take it home with them.
They work it out
So they
amongst
work it
themselves.
Oh, I see. Yeah, all right. That was the piece that I wasn't- that was the piece that I wasn't missing.
It's a lot of flexibility and freedom
Yeah.
for that group, so which is, makes it really nice. Okay, so, let me take it out to the public and then I'll come back for any final comments from our directors. So at this point, any members of our public have any questions on the presentation that was provided, to us on the Vanpool program launch?
I do not see any
Don't
hands
see-
raised.
Okay, not seeing any either. Okay, so we will come back then for any final comments that have not been addressed yet or made from our directors. And I do see Director Carbone has her hand up. Director Carbone, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, just a follow-up to Director Burnett's comment with the phone, by listing a phone number, if we were to do that, would we, maybe we might also want to put on there, how's my driving? Just because it's, well, even though it's gonna be covered by enterprise, it might be, good to have on there. If they're associating MST Vanpool with, on as, related to this, so to the drivers.
Thank you, Director Carbone, for that. And just a quick follow-up from that, then the marketing, it's joint marketing. We're both MST and Enterprise doing the marketing, and we're each have expenditures on both sides. We're sharing the cost of that. Are we sharing cost of the outreach or the marketing?
Not sharing the cost, we're sharing marketing information. So it's all on the enterprise side.
It's
without
really
going-
enterprises program.
Uh-huh,
Okay, got it. So we're just helping to disseminate
yes,
it.
uh-huh.
The idea of this was to bring in a vendor and with a turnkey solution, so there was as little MST involvement as possible, maximum flexibility to to the customers, as little overhead as possible for MST. And this is Commute Enterprises. This is their business. They do this all over the country. So we're gonna let them run their business, and we hope to reap some reward by having additional ridership that will help us with our financials in the at the federal level, and provide a alternative for members of the public where our current bus schedules might not work for them.
Okay, so, Director Burnett, you have
Quick
a
comment.
follow-up comment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in some ways, is this the future of transit? Where you really hone in on a specific need of public transportation, of getting from where I work to where I live. And, is this, will this in some way compete against, our overall model? And, the $450 reimbursement that comes from enterprise, or is that coming from MST?
That is coming from MST
Okay.
to
To the-
each,
To the program, or to each group,
a subsidy to the van group.
to the group?
Yeah,
Okay.
So the 450, because it goes
Yes.
450 and then the portion of that comes from MST.
Yes,
How much do we know?
no, 450
Oh,
comes from
comes from
MST per
MST.
van.
Per van, okay, so that's our dog.
And your board adopts that. We will present that each year with the budget. We presented that in the budget this year when you adopted your budget. And, we anticipate a number of Vanpool participants and a rate. And at some point, maybe at mid-year, we will give you an update if this program is more popular than we anticipated during the budget, or if we need to adjust subsidies or rates, we will let your board know. So once a year, we'll be coming to your board and saying, with the budget, we're anticipating this many Vanpools, we want to continue or grow, and this is the amount we think we should subsidize to help encourage that ridership.
So it's 450, we're paying the cost, and how many total vans? And it's a 3-year, I know you said it was a 3-year program, 3-year contract. And how many total vans?
right now, the existing vans that has been identified, there are 29.
there is
but
20.
yeah, 29, but they're not part of MST's program. They are existing just van pool program
Oh,
in the
okay.
county.
But for us, if we're saying we're paying the 450 a monthly fee for the vans, how many vans are we anticipating?
I'm gonna have to defer that to Lisa for budget purposes. Question.
Sure.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, the public. For our budget purposes, we anticipated $55,000 to $65,000 for this year, but we're well into the year, so we should be able to handle the 29 coming into our program for this year. But we really didn't know how much demand there would be for a van pool program, so we're going to monitor it, and if we need to increase that amount, we certainly can, or decrease it depending on the experience. So it's still very new to MST, and so we'll need to monitor it and see what happens.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. So at least we as directors get kind of a sense of what the budget the budget allocation, and then how many of those vans. So we've been at 29, obviously we're at the tail end of the year, but you'll keep us appraised of just the demand for that type of van pool. I think the positive thing, as we have mentioned, is that it's an alternative for those that do need transportation, and because of our better bus network, for those areas that lost some of the service, that this would be an alternative for them as well, and for others. I think this is great. So you'll bring it back to the board to see how much the demand is. It's exciting. So I think for me, it's just the marketing. Obviously, it's the marketing pieces. If we have a good service, we have to make sure we market it well so people know the service that's available to them. Okay, so let me, there was another hand.
We have Mayor Labar and Sloan Campy had his hand up
Yes.
at one point.
So Sloan, if you can, I know Mayor Labar, I know Sloan had his hand up for a bit. If he's there, I don't see. Sloan, if you still have your question, if you want to unmute, please.
I'm sorry, Chair, would you like me to, can I address the board?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a few I just had a few questions that were kind of mulling around in my head here, but this may be an opportunity for CSU Monterey Bay and how they may want to take advantage of some transit options. I initially raised my hand, but lowered my hand at the same time because my question wasn't fully thought out yet. But I guess my main question is, how can CSUMB perhaps inquire about this program? What would be the best way to do that again?
Okay, thank you for that. So I will turn it over to Ms. Sugabo to be able to answer that.
Sloan, we can talk offline.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, perfect. And then last comment. So Director Labar, you had a comment or follow-up question?
Follow-up question. So just to clarify, the 450 is not the total cost for the van. We are subsidizing a portion of that cost. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, and then in that data, you'll be collecting reduction of vehicle miles traveled, correct?
That'll be included.
All right, and then we'll be able to use that to coordinate the amount of CO2 that was reduced.
Correct.
Finally, the question then is, since there'd be a CO2 reduction and it's quantifiable, part one would be, would those be in any way eligible to create carbon credits? And if so, would private people be able to further subsidize MST's investment for a portion of those carbon credits?
I'll handle this one.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it just.
That is an excellent question. I like where you're going with it. We will have to research that and get back to you on that. The only hang up I see is that these vehicles are not zero emission vehicles. However, there are real carbon reducing strategies. So let us noodle on that a little bit, and we'll talk to the people we need to talk to, and we'll report back at a later date.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Great question, Director Labar. Okay, so let me just one more call out for any additional questions that haven't been asked or any follow-up items. Okay, see none. Thank you so much, Mr. Gobble, for that presentation, and thank you so much to MST for just really that progressive kind of thinking and thinking outside of the box, right? What are the other options, other alternatives? So we'll see the demand for this type of service and where we go from there. But just thankful for the staff and their work done. And I think just for me, it's important if we have something and we want to make sure that our residents know and our organizations know that this is available. So the marketing and the outreach is really critical.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is reports and information. So you have your the different reports that were provided in our packet. So I'll start with the general manager's report if there's any questions. So we have the general manager's report, and we have the federal legislative advocacy report, the state legislative report, as well as some of the trips and reports and then correspondence that you have in your packet. Carl, do we want to go through each, or just if there's any questions
I think
for the director?
They're there, for your board to review. And if there are any questions at this time, now would be the time to ask them.
Okay, so let me go out to our board of directors. Directors, are there any questions on any of the items that were provided in your reports packet? Okay, seeing none, then I have a really quick question just in terms of the hydrogen summit, and I believe this was attended by Norm.
Yep.
Norm, so there is a hydrogen manufacturing facility in Mendota.
That's
Plan
correct.
for.
Yeah, plan for. So I believe it's under construction now. The plan that they laid out and the plan that they communicated to the attendees was that they're going into production, hydrogen production beginning the end of 23, so next year. So they're in construction now. Hydrogen production to take place beginning the end of 2023, and then deliveries beginning early 2024. So we're about 2 years away.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
actually pretty quick.
That's
And
pretty quick.
That's
Pretty
quick.
quick.
Yeah, and where they're located, they say that they can go all the way up to the Oregon border and deliver everything down from the Oregon border to Mendota, and then down Mendota basically to Bakersfield, and then across to the Bay Area, including
Wow.
Monterey.
So I've had discussions or started discussions with the Air Resources District Director, as well as Hans at the City of Monterey, because of the compressed air station that used to be operated, that is right adjacent to MST, next to McGraw Hill. There may be some opportunities for hydrogen dispensing if MST wants to start looking at hydrogen vehicles. So we're looking at, already starting discussions with this news about what's happening in Mendota.
Yeah.
We're using that to springboard and launch some discussions about what the future of hydrogen dispensing may be and where that may be located. And part of our fixed facilities analysis that your board, I believe, approved a contract at your last meeting in July. We'll be looking at new facilities that for our zero emission bus program, we do contemplate in outer years utilizing hydrogen vehicles for because they have greater range at lower operating cost than the current battery electric vehicles. So it's something that 2-year time frame is real close.
Yeah.
So
Great, yeah, thank you. That was really exciting to hear, especially having those discussions about the potential for the combine, right, with the hydrogen and the zero and the electric. So
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you for that, Norm. And then I just want to say thank you also to Carl. I know that there was a distribution, as you saw in the packet, of 50 bus passes to Rancho Cielo for their Summer Youth program. So I want to say thank you, Carl, for being able to distribute that and to support those students that are in need of those bus passes. So I do see that there is a hand up by Director Gagliotti.
Yeah, I just had a follow-on question about the hydrogen production plant in Mendota. What color hydrogen is it? There's green, blue, and brown.
So we'll see. They're claiming, I'm not going to say what they're claiming. We'll see. We'll see what it's going to be, but more to follow.
Yeah.
We,
I mean, it's a critical piece of the. I mean, it's a critical piece of the production cost and the overall the overall price of the hydrogen.
Yeah. So the overall price of hydrogen right now, my understanding, it's a lot higher than where we need it to be, and so
yeah, exactly. And my guess is that that's probably for green hydrogen.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, directors, and we'll move on to our next item on our report, which is our board reports, comments, and referrals. So at this time, we do have reports on meetings attended by board members at MST expense. So you did see that there was one of the reports from Director Martinez, who myself and Director Albert attended the transit board members and board administrators conference in Salt Lake City, Utah. You don't see my report there. It'll come for the next report, but there is some information that was provided by Director Martinez. So I just want to say thank you for being able to send that email and just talk about the importance of being able to attend these conferences and what we learned from them. And really, I mean, I think the whole message that we learned was really about sharing and telling our stories and really making sure that our community knows those stories and that we know that transit is valuable in a lot of, I mean, it makes a difference in people's lives that are taking transit to, for employment, that are taking transit for healthcare, that are taking transit to get an education. And those are really critical stories that we want to be able to share with our residents in our community. So any other reports, any board member comments and announcements? Okay, I do see Director Martinez has her hand up. Director Martinez.
Yes, I know that in the last section, I guess I didn't get counted. I did email Jeanette and I texted Carl. But just the takeaway of the whole conference, Chair Velasquez, like you mentioned, I really appreciate the fact that I was able to attend the conference along with past Chair Albert. It was amazing to see the collaboration and the work between both of you and how you guys brought MST, specifically Monterey, to the table at that conference in specific. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is that regarding the whole federal help that we're getting when it comes to transportation, this year is crucial to make sure that we get those testimonials, like you mentioned, Chair, that we capture those stories of like, why is ridership important in Monterey County, specifically our cities, individual stories of like overcoming situations where they didn't have any transportation available, working with the youth, anything is the crucial moment now to bring forward these stories and importantly, include our Congress representatives at every conversation, at every event, at every ribbon cutting. So I just think that was one of the biggest takeaways. And I just wanted to add that. And that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Martinez. Yeah, we heard some really exciting things that are happening in some of our bus stations. I know there was farmers markets and there was a soccer complex, and it was pretty exciting to be able to see. Also, just to follow up to that, I think the MST, especially being a smaller transit entity, there was a lot of presentations and a lot of information provided that I think we as well could have been part of those workshops, because there was a lot of exciting and innovative stuff that we're doing on the smaller transit side that I think it's really important to be able to highlight as well. So thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to board member comments and announcements. General Manager, CEO Performance Evaluation, Kelly.
Kelly was on. There she is.
I'm here. Sorry. Sorry I couldn't be there in public, everyone. Kelly Halkin, Director of Human Resources and Risk. I'm down sick at home, but I just wanted to make an announcement to keep your mailboxes open, both virtually and at where you get mailings. The general manager evaluation form was mailed out on Friday afternoon. And you should be getting something, or you should have already gotten something in your email regarding the performance evaluation forms. This is at the request of your board chair, Director Velasquez. We're asking that you complete the evaluations and then send them to David Laredo. And his email has been attached in the email, and in the physical evaluations that were mailed out, there's a self-addressed envelope so that can be sent back to his firm. And if there's any questions, you guys can email me if you feel you need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and we hope you're feeling better. So I know in the past we have requested 100% participation from other directors, which everyone has met in the past. So I know everybody's busy, but if you can please get to those, and as Kelly said, make sure that those get directed to Mr. Laredo. Okay, any comments, directors? Okay, seeing none. Oh,
There was an item about a video.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I don't think that got out to the staff to actually show that. So we'll hold that for the next one. Now, Scott, do you have a copy of that video?
I do not.
You do not know. I did not. That's on me. I did not get that off to Scott. So
Okay,
we'll bring it by. We'll bring it to you next time.
okay, so we'll put that on for the next meeting then.
Yep.
Okay, so item 8-3, board member referrals for future agendas. Directors, any items for future discussion and future agendas? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on. At this point, we will move on to our closed session item. And members of the public may address the board on any matter related to closed session. There's a limit of not more than 3 minutes for each speaker. The board will not take action immediately on any public comments. So for today, we are going to move into closed session, and we do have 3 items that will be discussed in our closed session item 9-1, conference with Monterey Salinas Transit and ATU labor contract, government code 54957.6. Item 9-2 is review incentive pool for MST and confidential unit and provide direction. Item 9-3 is conference with real property negotiations, property parcel number APN 032-171-005. And item 9-4, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. Eleodoro Cepeda Torres, representatives from the state of Maria Aguilar de Cepeda versus Monterey Salinas Transit and Monterey Salinas Transit Corporation, case number 22CV002609. So this time we will
Go out to the public, see if there are any comments.
Yeah. So is there any comments on the closed session items that we have for discussion today? I will take it to Zoom to see if there's any public comments. Okay, I see no public comments from Zoom, and then anyone here joining us in our chamber. Okay, so there's none. So at this time, we will recess and go into closed session.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, Scott does have the video.
Oh, it's okay. We'll wait for it for next time. Yeah.
I couldn't remember whether I sent it to him or not, because I went on vacation. So I assumed I did.
Okay, so we're meeting in there,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes, we are. Okay. Want to hang out afterwards, we can probably show them.
So, I don't have to.
I would. Yep. We go this way. You have to forget you haven't been here. How long you been on this board? 2 years, 10 more months.
So Director, we had, trying to remember, that we had, one of the samples.
copy on that earlier. So,
It's by one of my favorite bands, Public Domain.
you have to listen to that. It's in Kansas or, you know.
We'd have to pay for that.
I know we do. I'm almost willing.
Okay, we have everybody back.
Yep.
Okay, so we will go ahead and do a report out on the closed session items, and I will turn this over to Mr. Laredo.
Thank you, Chair. So the board did meet in closed session on 4 separate items regarding item 9-1, conference with MST and ATU labor contract pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. The board did meet with its labor negotiating team and received information. There is no reportable action at this time. Under 9.9-2, review incentive pool for MST and confidential unit and provide direction presented by Carl Todoric. The board did receive information regarding the confidential unit and MSTEA. There was direction, but there is no reportable action at this time. Under 9-3, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8. The board did meet with real property negotiators regarding the price and terms of MST property, parcel number 032-171-005. And the parties involved include Pacific Rim Company. There was general direction provided, but there is no reportable action in that. Under the last one, section item 9-4, this is regarding the Eleodora Zapato Torres et al., representing the estate of Maria Aguilar de Zapata versus Monterey Salinas Transit and Monterey Salinas Transit Corporation, case number 22 CV 002609. The board did receive an update to those facts. There was a general update provided, but there is no reportable action at this time. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laredo. So we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the detailed monthly report statistics for June and July. So directors, if you have any questions, please reach out directly to our general manager or to the other staff. And with that, if there's no other items of business at this time, we will adjourn this meeting at 12:02. Thank you so much for joining us today.